Okay.
I know.
Great.
That's the question again.
How did you guys know each other and come up with this Casual Friday idea?
We all know each other separately. So I met Rob separately, met David separately, met you separately. And how I came up with the Casual Friday concept was I am bored out of my mind at home and started talking to David about some stuff. Then I started talking to Rob about some stuff. And then I started talking to you about some stuff. And then I was like, you know what? Instead of me just talking to you guys about stuff, we should record the stuff we talk about and see if other people get anything from it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That's how it all came out.
Okay.
But as we get going here, so that our viewing audience gets to know you and appreciate you and love you as much as I love each of you, who are you? Who would like to go first? It's not a deep philosophical question. It's just like, Josephine, I know you do the positive.
It could be, Adam.
Ladies first. Why don't you lead us off?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Josephine. I am founder of Positivity Center, local Calgary company. And I am super passionate about teaching people anything that's got to do with the world and field of positive psychology. Basically because it changed my life, so I know it has the power to change anyone's life. And my passion demographic, if you will, is working with seniors. And
We got two on this call.
Ooh. Hey.
Thank you for helping us.
I know. I mean, my parents are seniors too, but yeah. So they're inaccessible right now. So, I just want to spread some joy.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're on the call. Thanks for being courageous and stepping on it and it takes something to be on here from each of you. So I appreciate that. Mr. Reeboks, Rob, what's going on? Who are you?
Who am I? I guess I'd be a self-proclaimed freak, but it's been confirmed by enough other people that there must be some truth to it. I'm a bit of a wingnut. I'm running this company called Reeboks, which came about almost 10 years ago now by merging a management consultant firm I had focused on value innovation and blue ocean strategy and teaching people all around the world how that worked and helping some pretty cool companies come to life. Merged with a design firm years back to create this thing called Reeboks Creative. And, I do it in my full-time, my part-time. I teach at Mount Royal. I do some lecturing at a few different universities around the world. And again, as a freak, on a personal note, Adam, you'll know this one. I love to do things like, high adrenaline sports, things like jumping out of airplanes and wingsuit flying and stuff like that. So.
I have had the pleasure of jumping out of a plane with Rob, and I can hardly wait to do it again. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. Wait till we get you in a wingsuit, buddy.
Yeah, there's time for sure. We'll get there. And Mr. Schmeichel.
Just the thought of that kind of makes my stomach flutter. My wife also wants to jump out of a plane. I have an admirable respect for heights, but I'm not opposed to it either. So I'm just throwing that in there so that I can salvage what's left of my masculinity here.
At 14,000 feet, it's really not a height. They're just little tiny blocks on the earth called quarter sections of land. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll take your advice on that. Yeah. Okay. For myself, I'm a creative person, started in design way back when. That's how I met my wife. Started an studio agency at that point, and it's gone through all sorts of iterations since. I'm now focused on personal brand and helping people find their voice and be heard for the value they bring to the world, and then keeping them accountable to that big dream, whatever that is for them.
And I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's
what
I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So as we deal and take a lighthearted look at business life, how are things going this week? What's going on this week for anyone who wants to jump in? What's happened so far this week?
It didn't go the way I had anticipated.
Wait a second. It didn't go the way I imagined it. Wow. I think you're the only one though, David. So maybe you can elaborate on that. The rest of us had it planned, and actually I'm right on track.
Yeah, it was a process of just letting go of that expectation of how I anticipated it going. It started with my coffee maker crapping out Monday morning.
My bean grinder crapped out this week.
Something's in the
In the
air.
middle of the grind, I had to go coarse grind. It was awful.
First world problems.
I know, right? Yeah, and it's all good. Like it took me a little bit to really push through it. This
The coffee thing?
no, that was just one of the things. It was the coffee thing, and then a postponement of a gig, and some client work not really working out too well, and some internal work not working out too well. It started to just compound on top of each other.
Yeah, buddy. Surfing the chaos. How about you, Josephine? How's the week going?
I can echo David's sentiments.
You had a coffee problem as well?
Minus the coffee problem. But my parents had a coffee problem. I heard about their coffee problem. They needed to replace their espresso machine, but we're okay. But I manually grind my beans every morning. 100 rotations, 50 with one arm and 50 with the other. I've got my coffee.
That's how you keep it going.
Wow.
Let's see it.
There you go. Yeah, right. But yeah, I'm glad to be in a room with some humorous people today because it's lifting my spirits, that's for sure. Yeah, I think, having big dreams means you get let down often. And I'm experiencing that too, because I have a really big dream and it feels like right now, I mean, even before coronavirus hit us, it was already small steps moving towards it. And now it's like even smaller steps. So it's like, what gives? When is this going to end? And aside from business too, I've found that as the government is kind of initiating this, relaunch plan, I'm like, okay, so now I can see people, but I still can't touch people. And this is absolutely killing me. It was actually, I finding it harder to be in the presence of a human being and not be able to hug them, as opposed to, okay, I'm staying home because I can't see people at all because I don't want to spread anything and flatten the curve and all those things that they say, are the reasons why we're supposed to stay at home. But yeah, being a human right now is just really hard because I feel like I'm having to counteract all my human instincts to just want to reach out and touch people and hug people. And
you should just do it anyways.
Right? Well, the people, then maybe we have to meet so that I can hug somebody else because,
okay,
yeah. It depends on the person, right? My parents, they're not comfortable with hugging. So you kind of have to respect their space that they're in too. But David, you and I can meet up and we can
strangers in the street.
Totally.
I'm not even going to touch the whole child thing. Like,
well, you just did actually.
You gotta get permission.
Like punned it up right there too a little bit. Anyways, keep going.
But seriously, I totally get. I didn't realize how tactile I was until they took it away. Amazing. Amazing.
It kind of made me think of an emotional parallel because sometimes shutting down is easier than opening up. And so when the economy and the world sort of shut down and we were more in lockdown, it was just easier to live within those confinements in some ways. I found it that I was able to focus on what I could do instead of what I couldn't do and just create a new normal in those parameters. And now it's like opening up is just opening up my awareness to what are the things I'm feeling and what are the other restrictions that I still don't have access to.
Interesting.
And yeah, that's sort of like, it's interesting parallel. So.
Oh, really good. Really good. How about you, Rob? What's going on this week, man?
Well, I'll bridge right off what Josephine said, which prior to this whole COVID pandemic stuff, I wasn't sure whether I was a hugger or not. My kids think I'm a hugger, but other people don't. I'm freaking a hugger now. Like, to hell with anyone who's going to push me away. I'm bigger than that. So David, you and I like to talk a little bit about boundaries and stuff and permission, but I think I'm a hugger now. So I feel you. My week has gone exactly according to plan. And the reason why is because my new plan is whatever the hell happens, happens.
Nice.
Good plan. And it's kind of like, when I go shopping with my wife and kids, I'm a pretty control freak, and I need to know exactly what's happening when it's happening. So my wife and kids and I talked many years ago that if we go shopping, What we actually have to do is my wife and kids have to tell me we will be shopping between 10:15 and 11:15. And to me, in my brain, that means touch everything, smell everything, put some stuff on, but don't buy anything. And then at 11:14, my clock starts going off in my head that, all right, now it's time to buy. And at 11:16, if you touch something without buying it, I go into an all sorts of weird place. So I actually have to give myself permission to define it, to work with who I am, to say, touch everything, but don't necessarily buy it. And I've tricked my brain into that I'm good for it. So this week, everything's gone exactly according to plan.
Nice. That is awesome.
Until 11:17 hits, and then it's all over.
Yeah, and then it's all over. And you got to remember too, as a brand distillery, I seem to be the only one supporting a local distillery. But that has helped a little bit as well.
Yes. Well, cheers, Rob.
What are you drinking? What distillery is it?
I'm just drinking a nice little Bullet bourbon this afternoon. Not overly local, but purchased through a local place.
Ah, okay. We'll let it slide then.
Yeah.
This time.
Does everybody else have a beverage, Josephine?
I just have water. I feel left out. I didn't know that
I know,
was
I just stopped
required.
the water. Sorry, guys.
Hey,
I thought about amaretto on the rocks, but
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated. We'll watch how this goes as we cascade through the afternoon here.
Hey, if you ever want to meet at my office, I've got bourbon and hugs galore.
I bet. Not in that order necessarily.
Not in that order.
I would prefer a hug before the bourbon versus the hug after the bourbon.
Sometimes they get
might
better
be
with
distinctly different hugs,
A little more lingering.
right?
Should we invite my defense attorney on this call?
Don't worry. I think that the hugging is it's definitely missing. I was on a conference and there was about 12,000 people on this conference, and they asked, what's one of the first things you're going to do when COVID is over? And an overwhelming response, because the words would get bigger based on how many people committed to a word. Lots of people were travel, lots of people would go have dinner, lots of people go see my mom, go see my dad, see my parents. But the biggest word on the screen was hug. Yeah, it was remarkable. So I love it, because I think there's hope for humanity. And I am lucky to be quarantined with my beautiful wife and 3 of my 4 kids, because one lives in Toronto and the other one comes and goes from his own apartment. And we get hugs all the time, but it's not the same thing as that interface with, say, a distant friend or a stranger. Or like I saw you guys earlier this week, and there was I had to consciously stop myself from minimally wanting to shake hands, more appropriately wanting to give you a hug and say hi. So it was right there for me. And Josephine, if you were there, you would totally get a handshake and a hug too.
I can imagine. Well, there was that one time we were chatting on the phone and we were saying that when this is all over, there's going to be a Huggers and Handshakers conference, because
that's a great idea.
Right? We were talking about how some people will miss it so much that they won't care what's out there. They'll just go for it because they want to be with people. And there might be people that are still very reluctant and afraid of people.
Yeah.
But the ones that are willing to hug, they're just going to gather, and they're just gonna, it's mass gathering. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. That's another conference that we should consider putting on. Handshakes and hugs. In the news this week, anything that has tripped you, and it doesn't have to be like, news like negative news. It could be just news like interesting news. Like I saw one where people were building a giant Monopoly game on their sidewalk. That was super cool. I can hardly wait to see how that one gets played out. That'll be awesome. And then on another front, Air Canada released its travel regulations to the US and all the different things that are coming down the pipe if you want to get on a plane. It's like, I may only be doing the good old-fashioned car vacations for a while, given what I read about the Air Canada thing. Any standout items for you guys this week?
For me, it's the human side. You keep reading these articles about peace officers and police giving tickets to people who have, gotten too close, talking about hugs and distance and human, and the outrage that people respond to that with, that, come on, cut some slack, just teach people, coach them. And I know that some policing services have given lots of warnings about it and try and coach you to it. But it ties into a conversation I actually had earlier today with a client. And that is this whole brand, and David is a personal branding guru. This ties in that, it's that human to human contact. It's that human to human approach that, as we're all getting, sequestered into our own little places, it's really starting to show that we're actually human beings. And for us in the world of B2B branding, it actually should be called P2P or people to people, so that you can start to realize that this is human. And when you don't have something, you become more aware that you don't have it. And we're starting to see things like platitudes and BS, stated by companies that we stand for this, 7 of these, 9 of those, 2 of those, and 3 of these. And people just have no more time for that. So you're seeing that in the news, like, come on, let's be human. Let's help each other, as opposed to being a dick and just writing a ticket because you can.
Yeah, it brings up there's an interesting rabbit hole to go down there. I'm not biting though. Hey, Josephine, what newsworthy items have triggered you this week?
Well, Peter, people matter most. I've always, known that in my field. There are so many researchers who study relationships, because we know that positive social relationships are the single most contributing factor to living a flourishing life. So no wonder why we're realizing that we knew this, but we didn't know this, and now we're really knowing this, if that makes any sense. But I read
and you've frozen.
article.
Yeah, come on, push through this.
Do it.
Come on, internet, cooperate with us.
Oh, we should all just pause.
Okay, if we all just freeze, she'll look normal.
Hey, don't move.
Don't move.
Approach that. Am I back?
Almost. We can hear you, and you're not back. Okay. Well, you sort your low. We're gonna go to David. You might have to sometimes I find just a reset or refresh.
It's trying to catch up.
Yeah, it's now trying to catch up.
Yeah. And this small break was brought to you by bourbon.
Yeah, for those of you drinking and watching, this is actually happening.
Totally. No stunt performers were hurt.
I think is there a refresh button that you can hit? Your little refresh icon that
Is there a refresh on Zoom? I don't know if there is.
On the top corner.
Oh, and she's out.
Maybe
I think that's the proverbial refresh. Is get out of here.
Hang up, dial back in.
Every
news items for you, David.
You've asked me twice now about news, and
it's okay to say you don't watch the news, you don't believe in it, whatever's there for you.
Well, yeah, and what's there for me is I feel like I should have something, but I don't have anything, and I do, but I don't want to bring it to this conversation because it's a deep, dark rabbit hole. So I don't have any news, man.
No news is good news, they say. No news is good news. I'm going with David.
You made it.
Josephine, welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
You were saying about human relations, and
I just read an interesting article about a care center in France who decided to bring its staff into the care center and lock down everybody in the same place for 47 days to keep the virus out of their care center. I just thought that was an interesting approach. Just shows, there's so many different ways, right? So I just an interesting thing, more so than a news. I don't watch news really, almost never. I go to alberta.ca every 2 or 3 days and make sure I'm up to date on what I'm allowed to do and not allowed to do. So I'm a decent citizen, and that's about it. I just can't be bogged down with the negativity. There's just too much of it. I'm already bogged down enough. So if I go on the news, it'll just bring me down even further.
I heard one approach was, if it gets bad enough, they'll come knock on my door and let me know it's time to go. So, good for you. I am now super curious about that door behind you to see if during this, somebody knocks on it and says, Josephine, it's time to go.
Except for I gave them clear and explicit instructions to not do so.
Let me know the interview, and then we can do it.
Yeah.
If that
and
happens,
the sign
I'm
on the
saying
outside of the door is not enough, right? I have to go to each member of my family and just specifically say, look, I'm on a call and this one's a video. I've done a few webinars, so they're kind of used to it now. But yeah, and because the door is behind me, if they were to open into the room, it's like, oh, you'd see them peekabooing. So,
awesome.
I know it's that. I read another article about just the level of professionalism and how that's all changing and how we're showing our emotions more, and we're showing more of like where we come from and who we are, just because we're not working in this professional, context anymore necessarily in a building with other people. We're, coming from a different place.
Totally. I like Rob's whole thought on the human to human or P to P, person to person. I personally am freaking embracing and relishing this. Yeah,
it's been missing. I feel like it's been missing like for at least a few years. It's like, when are we going to put people first? I mean, I don't know. Are we just going to keep going like this or what? Because
at the speed that we're moving as a society, it's almost like you need a major catastrophe to happen every few years as a reminder. I remember when 9/11 happened, people said for weeks after that, they're going to stay home and hug their wife or husband and kids more. And then it doesn't take long until you slip back into this little paradigm that we have called, this is my life. And then another issue happens. I hope this one's big enough that at least it extends it for a while. And I know it's going to have converted a whole bunch of people. And hopefully there's enough of us that will pull the rest of them over by, forced hugs and things along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I love what you're saying. And I think it's got a lot to do with creating an environment in which all of that's done for you, right? Because then we create different environments and we run away from what was a priority when the catastrophe hit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you create an environment that then reminds you of, oh yeah, this is what my priority is. This is what I value. This is what's important to me. I'm going to live this way, and I'm going to find other people who want to live this way with me. But to me, that's where it sustains itself, because it's a created environment.
There will be a tribal transformation and new tribes assembling in the future. That's what I'm convinced of. And I'm excited about it because I think it's going to allow more of the people that I would say I'm interested in, and I'm interested in that self-expression. And as you have all demonstrated and spoke to on the call, the human to human, human first, compassion, grace, authenticity. Rick, I'm excited about where the potential is. And I am equally concerned, Rob, that the making it and looking good doesn't creep back in and supplant it again. So we'll see. All we can do is stand for it. Yeah. As we go into wrap up, I would love for each of you to share from your professional vantage point anything that people can take away and use in the near future. So whether it's on branding, corporate branding, strategy, corporate strategy, positivity, positive, just any kind of comment you'd like to share where you think people will get value from your professional wisdom and expertise.
If you've always considered to lead the charge on something, an idea, a notion, something that's missing in the world, now would be the perfect time to step out and be bold and brave and speak up, because there's likely a lot of people who are ready to listen now more than ever.
Excellent, David. Love those words of encouragement. Yeah, very nice.
Something that's felt appropriate now within my family and just in general is sort of this idea of moving. And was birthed at a dinner table over dinner with my family when this sort of creeped up on us, and we thought, okay, well, what do we need to do to, get through this, to sustain this and come out okay on the other side? And so I said, it's important to move your heart and your mind and your body every day. And it was interesting because I felt like every member of my family, no matter their ages or their gender, was able to go, oh yeah, I know what that is for me. So yeah, moving your heart and connecting, moving your body physically somehow, some way, every day, with limitations, because lots of us have those. And moving your mind, whether you're learning or growing or getting curious about something, whatever that looks like for you, it's something I'm trying to live by. So hopefully people can take that and ask themselves, how might that look like in their lives for themselves?
Wicked good. I'm taking it on. Thanks, Josephine. Mr. Rob, last word.
It's become stronger at the forefront of my mind that, play to your strengths and be real. Whether it's on a corporate side from a brand perspective, whether it's you as an individual. Months ago, people would ask, how are you? And too often we'd say things like, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's those 4-letter words that I absolutely banish from our office. Fine, good, okay, all of those 4-letter words. We can drop the F-bomb, that's okay, but don't be fine. But be real, be who you are and play your strengths. And I'll give you accolades on this one, Adam. When we talked recently, I asked, what's a typical day look like for you? And you said, I call numerous people throughout a day and have these chats. And it doesn't mean that we beat ourselves up for who we are. We celebrate who we are. I'm someone who seldom will go pick up the phone and call someone like you. You're that catalyst. You light the fire, but I'm the kind of guy that when the fire's lit, get the hell out of my way because the inferno is starting. I needed help getting pushed out of the airplane the first time, David, and I'm okay helping you if you need it. But now, I'm the first guy in line to get ready to do something crazy out of there. So
It pushed me out of the way so he could go first.
Nice.
it only looked that way. It only looked that way on the video, Adam. But again, be yourself, be real, and enough of this pretend, enough of this platitude and the little tiny shimmer that we put on everything. We've seen people without their makeup, not wearing pants, which that's a typical Monday for me, but be yourself, be real. And what it does is it allows people to not have to question who you are. And that's how we can start to establish our tribes. And you can start to get people that if I don't want to associate with a certain person or they don't want to associate, that's okay. But we'll be drawn to those that we're drawn to. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways for me.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well said. Great wrap. Thank you all for being here on Casual Friday, and you're welcome back anytime. Stay out there and stay awesome. Cheers, everybody.
Be real.
Cheers.